The American dream seemed suspended, for the duration at least, but 20 million people went searching for it anyway. 15% of the American people left their hometowns to look for jobs. What they found in the wartime boom towns were problems created by their own large numbers. The communities the war workers invaded tried to care for their children, but there were not enough teachers or classrooms. Children had to go to school in shifts. Some did not go at all. For the younger children, there were never enough nursery schools or daycare centers. Families searching for jobs found themselves camping out in trailers or tents or shanties on the outskirts of the boom towns. This was not Springfield of the American dream. Here, there was no established social order, no comfortable small-town routine, no community supervision of the children. In the boom towns, what the neighbors thought wasn't very important. There were plenty of jobs, but the communities where the new war plants and shipyards were built were overwhelmed by the crush of new people. The boom towns were hard-pressed to provide even the most basic municipal services. Life was hard for many war workers and their families, but it was better than life had been during the Depression years. With too little supervision at home, too many children got into trouble with the law. A wave of juvenile crime and sometimes violence swept across the country. Juvenile delinquency, which was bad enough, was only a symptom of a major change in American society. But few Americans saw that at the time, not even J. Edgar Hoover, the director of the FBI.
Of course, Mr. Hoover, I realize that the FBI is a federal agency, while the problem of juvenile delinquency is necessarily a matter of local law enforcement. But our young people are getting out of hand everywhere.
Well, I know, Mrs. Robinson, and every report I get from the field tells me how enormous the problem is. And we're doing all we can by working with the local agencies. But no amount of law enforcement can solve a problem which goes straight back to the home. The solution isn't in arresting these youngsters. It's up to the parents to give them a home life which will remove the temptation to delinquency.
Mopping up soda pop Rickies to our heart's delight. Dancing to swing-a-roo quickies, jukebox Saturday night.
Before the war in America, there were children and there were adults. The adults were the ones in charge. The war spawned a third group, teenagers. Children in their adolescent years began to live by their own rules, and nobody stopped them. In time, American culture would be saturated by this new teenage tribe.
Money, we really don't need it. We'll make that all right. Let me out the guy feed the jukebox Saturday night.
If teenagers were establishing their own codes of conduct, so were their older brothers and sisters. The traditional moral standards of young Americans were being challenged by the war and by the country's songwriters. The lyrics were euphemistic enough to get past the radio network censors, but the message was clear: sex was patriotic.
And here's a bit of advice for all the girls from lovely Nancy Norman.
You can't say no to a soldier, a sailor, or a handsome Marine. No, you can't say no if he wants to dance. If he's gonna fight, he's got a right to romance. So get out your lipstick and powder. say no. No, you gotta give in if you want him to win for you.
There she is. Oh, thanks. Eileen, is anything wrong?
Johnny, this is Chaplain Burke.
Congratulations, Corporal.
What'd I do?
Corporal Jones, I've decided that you don't know what the war is all about. We're free people fighting for the right to remain free, to work and to be married and to raise a family in a fine, decent country.
Eileen, honey, I know that.
Then why do you act like we've lost the war? Open your heart, Johnny. We're all in this fight together, women as well as men. Let's share our responsibilities. I want to be a part of you, Johnny. A part that goes with you on the battlefield, someone to come back to.
Forgive me, honey.
You ought to be ashamed. I even had to buy the ring.
To have and to hold from this day forward.
So the soldier and the girl got married. Once again, marriage was presented as a solution. According to Hollywood, getting married was a patriotic thing to do. In real life, many young Americans did talk themselves into marriage, just like the actors in the wartime movies. Unfortunately, in real life, not all the endings were happy.
Till death do us part.
To love and to cherish until death do us part.
Marry in haste and repent at leisure. It was inevitable that matrimonial mistakes would be made during wartime. Many couples, as in the past, stayed together and made the best of it, but many Americans did not. They divorced in large numbers in spite of social, religious, and family disapproval. Obviously, traditional American family values were under attack. The high post-war divorce rate was one of the first signs of changes rumbling beneath the surface of American life. They would erupt in full force in the 1960s.